Hi, my name is Dan Skelly. I'm the broker owner at Orson Hill Realty in Evergreen, Colorado. Also a realtor down in Southwest Florida in the Naples, Marco, Fort Myers area. So if you need anything in any of those areas, please give me a shout and I'll be more than willing to help you out. Um, what we're going to talk about today is who determines value for a home. And I think that it's going to surprise you. It's not the seller. No, not that greedy seller. It's not that real estate agent, that listing agent. Nope. It's not that greedy real estate agent either. Um, it's not the buyer agent. So that leaves only one person, or well, a group of people left in the transaction that actually determines the value, and that would be the buyers. Now, hear me out here. The reason that the buyers determine value is because they are the ones who will pay whatever price they want to for that home. I could tell a seller that, hey, I think your home is worth X amount of dollars, and they may think it's worth Y, and usually we come to a conclusion, and it would be Z, and that's what we list the home for. That list price is determined by comparables and what other buyers have paid for other properties in the neighborhood, what the homes have sold for, and that's an estimate of what the listing agent and the seller believes the value to be. But there's the one thing that actually determines it, and that again is what buyers will pay for it. And it's a collective group. It's what we call the market. The market determines what it's worth, and that market is the buyers. If a home is worth whatever the buyers think it's worth, that's what they will pay for it. The last couple of years, it wasn't uncommon for us to see 10 offers on a property. So if the buyers, one buyer says it's worth 500, another one says it's worth 510, three of them say it's worth 520, four more say it's worth 525. I don't know what number I'm at. I'm probably somewhere close to 9 or 10. And let's say the last guy says it's worth 535. Guess what? That value is 535. Of course, you're going to have to get an appraisal to back that up. But usually if there's 10 offers on a property close to each other, that appraiser is going to determine that that's what the value is. He uses comparables too. But, a property that has 10 offers on it, all around 530, and one of them's a little bit higher, then that appraiser is going to say, yes, certainly it's worth 535. It's just the reality of how real estate works in the United States in the capitalist society, where supply and demand drives everything. And right now we have low supply. Buyers are driving the market up, and they are the ones who determine what that home is worth. Nobody else. The seller doesn't. The listing agent doesn't. The buyer agent doesn't. The appraiser doesn't. He validates value is what an appraiser does for the most part. We haven't seen a whole lot of homes not appraising recently, even now with a little bit of a turn towards the buyers ever so slightly. Still a seller's market, guys. Sorry, buyers. It's still a seller's market. But that's basically how value is determined. There's really it's not a disputable fact. It's 100% true that your competition are fellow buyers. They're the ones who are driving the market. They're the ones who determine if your house isn't worth it. Buyers still aren't paying it. If the market as a whole does not see that home being the value that you have it listed at, it's still not selling. We did see houses not sell the last few years. Those are the ones that were definitely overpriced, and who knows why they were that much overpriced. But if you were anywhere in the ballpark, you got a couple of offers, and usually it went higher than what you had it listed.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
balanced market is kind of where we want to be. Maybe leaning just a little bit more towards sellers. Sorry, buyers. I know this video seems like it's a total slam on you, but it really isn't. It's just kind of the reality of things. The reason I like it going a little bit, just a little, just ever so slightly to the seller's market, because buyers tend to try to really take a lot when it's a buyer's market, I guess is the best way to say it. The contract is already written heavily in the buyer's favor. The buyer has 45 ways to get out of the contract, and the seller has none. There's nothing a seller can do other than, refuse to do what the buyer's request, and then the buyer has to terminate. So they can force a termination, but that's still the buyer's decision to terminate. So, buyers really do have control of the transaction for the most part. It's nice for the sellers to have a little bit more control than the contract actually is written. But nothing like it's been for the last few years. That's been a little too heavy towards the seller's market. It's difficult to write a contract for your buyers that, and you have to write it this way. If you want to get the property over the last couple of years, if you wanted to win the offer, you really had to write a contract that removed a lot of contingencies, sometimes considerably over list. But even if it wasn't, even if we're not talking about price for a second, even if it was just removing contingencies and then giving the seller a 60-day lease back, I mean, that's again, you have to do it if you want the property. So that's what reality was the last couple of years. Hopefully we're not going to see it that crazy coming up in spring, but who knows where the market's going to go. But anyways, it's the moral of this whole entire video was just to let you know who determines value of buyers. And just because I don't want you going into your offer or writing your offer and going into negotiations right off the bat with a grudge against the seller, because it really honestly is not the seller's fault. You can't ask a seller to sell their home, their most precious, valuable, sentimental piece of property that they own, most valuable thing in a lot of people's lives. You can't ask them to sell it for less than what it's worth. And buyers are the ones who determine that. It is not the seller. So give the sellers a little bit of a break, buyers. All they're doing is the same thing that you would do. Let's say you don't have a house that you're selling and you're a first-time buyer and you don't really get this. I'll say it this way. If your car's worth $30,000, are you going to sell it for 10? No, you just aren't, unless you're selling it to your, best friend or whatever. But no, you're not going to do it. You are going to get what it is worth. That's the idea of things. That's what we do in a capitalist society. And especially when supply and demand comes into play, with like it has with the last few years with housing, we just don't have a lot of inventory. That's driving prices. So thank you very much for listening to my rant about who sets value. I appreciate it. And just a reminder, I'm a broker owner at Orson Hill Realty in Evergreen, Colorado. Also work down in Florida, sell properties down there as well. I'm in the Naples, Marco Island, Fort Myers market down there. So if you need anything done in